Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners meeting for March 26th. Welcome everybody. I would like to begin our meeting. Reverend Stackpole, are you here this morning? Okay, he's not here, and I really appreciate that. If I'd asked Pastor John Wesley from St. Paul's Episcopal Church to come forward to lead us in our invocation, and Commissioner Goddard will lead us in a pledge. So if everybody will please stand.
Let us pray. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, send down upon all who hold office in this county the spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their office to promote the well-being of all people. Be with us, especially in this meeting this morning, and all that takes place would be to your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Wesley, and thank you, Commissioner Goddard. Gentlemen, in our agenda, we have no minutes to approve this meeting, so we'll move down to item number 2, which would be presentations. And I'd like to ask Rhonda Masters to come forward. It's a proclamation, dedication of Stanton Landing of the St. Paul's Episcopal Church. So, Rhonda, if you'll come forward with, I believe you have some of the members of the church and some of the members of the Stanton family. I've asked Commissioner Turner to read this proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I get started, I would just like to take the opportunity to thank the committee, the members of the church, and all the committees that came together to make this a trailhead. I would also like to, if you would bear with me, I would like to introduce the son of Charles Stanton, Chris, and his lovely wife, Pam, and Mr. Stanton's daughter, Susan Swamer.
Yeah,
Okay. So I just wanted to introduce them as being, I always called him Mr. Charles, but anyhow, it's my pleasure to read the proclamation. Proclamation number 19-23, dedication of Stanton Landing at St. Paul's Episcopal Church. Whereas St. Paul's Episcopal Church at Federal Point serves Putnam County and surrounding communities, offering faith-based programs that embrace a healthier lifestyle and promote physical, mental, and spiritual health. And whereas St. Paul's Episcopal Church at Federal Point quietly sits along the banks of the St. Johns River, providing moments of sanctuary for many weary souls since 1880, and continues to serve as an oasis for those seeking a place to gather for the purpose of creating loving, liberating, and life-giving relationships with each other and God. And whereas St. Paul's Episcopal Church at Federal Point has established Stanton Landing in memory of C. Charles Stanton, Jr., a third-generation Putnam County native, former mayor of Hastings, Florida, and a businessman who served his country, his community, his church, and God faithfully throughout his life. And whereas Stanton Landing, location at latitude 29.751 and longitude 81.545, is important as there is no landing, rest stop, or rustic camp within miles of all directions of Federal Point, making this location at St. Paul's Episcopal Church a safe harbor for paddlers, cyclists, and hikers. And whereas Stanton Landing has been designed a trailhead for the Bartram Trail in Putnam County National Recreation Trail, the Putnam County Blueways paddling trails, the St. Johns River Blueway, the St. Johns River to Sea Loop, and the Placa to St. Augustine State Trail. Now, therefore, the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners hereby congratulate St. Paul's Episcopal Church on this auspicious occasion of the dedication of Stanton Landing, and encourages all of Putnam County citizens to appreciate and support efforts to promote an outdoor-friendly community by participating in the events planned for March 3rd, 2019, to include a kayak, canoe trip to Deep Creek, cycling group to traverse the St. Johns River to Sea Loop, and a barbecue lunch with the dedication ceremony, thus proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners this 26th day of March 2019. Mr. Chairman, I move this proclamation.
Okay, we have a proper motion by Commissioner Turner. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a proper second by Commissioner Goddard. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of this proclamation indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Congratulations.
Honorable and distinguished members of the Putnam County Board of Commissioners, on behalf of the people of St. Paul's Episcopal Church at Federal Point, I express our deep gratitude for the honor you are bestowing upon our efforts to make an enduring memorial to C. Charles Stanton, Jr., and to provide an environment that encourages enjoyment and appreciation of God's creation. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
As the president of the Bartram Trail Society of Florida and one of the folks that created the Bartram Trail here in Putnam County, let me tell you how significant this is. Stanton Landing will be the first trailhead designated on our National Recreation Trail. And by doing this, it has showed us that we need to do this up and down the river. So Stanton Landing will be the very first on the Bartram National Recreation Trail. Palatka will be the next one. Willatka will be the next one. And if the county will do something at Georgetown, that will be the final trailhead on the St. Johns River to welcome all of our guests that travel up and down the river. Okay? And so this is really significant what they've done. They've got camping, they've got kayak landing, they've got pavilions for the bicyclists and so forth. It's a wonderful addition to Putnam County's recreation, and we should be thankful for what they have done to us. Thank you.
Rhonda, you want to say something about the event, or somebody wants to talk about the activities?
I'm Kristen with Keep Putnam Beautiful, and I'd just like to say we are really proud of what's taking place out at Stanton Landing. This is the kind of stuff that we just had our Positively Putnam Expo, and this is what we want to highlight going on in Putnam County. These are citizens who stepped up and went above and beyond what they had to make where we live a much better place to live. So I think at every opportunity we should recognize this and applaud this. So thank you very much. You're so welcome. Good job.
So this Saturday, we appreciate the support from the County Commission that we're going to have the dedication. We actually have a couple of events in the morning. We have a bicycling event and a paddling event. So if you're interested, anyone's interested, see Sam or Linda Kreider. And then we will have the dedication will actually start at 11:30, followed by a barbecue lunch. You gentlemen are assisting in cooking, and along with the Stanton family. So come and enjoy it. We're going to have people there, like the Putnam County Historical Society will be there and actually giving people history of the area. So we've got a few things planned, and we're really excited about it. Would you like to say something? We have Allison DeFore is the canon of our area, who's come down from Jacksonville from the diocese to be here with us.
Good deal.
Good afternoon, or morning. My name's Allison DeFore. I'm here with the greetings of Bishop John Howard, who sends his best. The involvement of our diocese with this sort of thing goes back as long as the steamboats that used to ply between places like Mandarin, where Harriet Beecher Stowe was, and Fleming Island at St. Margaret's, where the Fleming family hung out, and all the way down here to Federal Point. So our legacy is deep. Also, coming from the Keys, where I've seen this kind of tourism, I can bring you one very strong recommendation and good news, which is that this is very, very good for the community. These kind of tourists will bring a lot of money. So this is good stuff.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak. I want to talk about a personal thing that's happened years ago and how I came to know
Bruce and Rhonda and the group out at Federal Point. My wife was a hospice volunteer manager, and their area hosted a group of young people who were dealing with loss of loved ones, young people. And that church opened their arms, and when I say opened, I mean a lot of work to take care of these children. I was in a tux with a boa and a feather hat and flip-flops and color, and it was all about the kids. And we planted trees out there on the property, and what they did is they put their hurts in a bag, and we buried them under those trees out there. And I look at this proclamation where it says moment of sanctuary for many weary souls. That church and that community touched a lot of lives those years, and it went on for many years. And never did the church ever say no. They always said yes, and they always went more and more, and what can we do more? So thank you for the Stantons for having the property there, and thank you for the church for opening it. And I continue to think that it'll be a sanctuary for weary souls as we go forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. And it's very special for me to be part of this proclamation, especially with the Stanton family. My relationship really goes back with Mark, as I'm sure Commissioner Turner's does too, but getting to know Susan. But I knew Mr. Stanton also, and I could just describe him as a gentleman, is what he was. So we have a representative from would any of y'all like to say a few things? Okay.
Thank you all for this. This is very special. The church was very special to my dad. He loved that church. He loved this community. The Stanton family, we're 6 generations now, ties to Putnam County. Great-grandfather had the steel foundry on the river at the end of Madison Street. Many of us went to Aunt Lily or Miss Lily's kindergarten, which, that was at the old Stanton home. Judge Causey Green is a member of the Stanton family, was a longtime judge here in the county. Of course, Mark, my brother, has his business here. I ran the Shell station over where the Wendy's was, when I was a kid, running the Shell station. So we have deep ties to the community, and we're just happy to be able to give back and honor our dad with the Stanton Landing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. If we can get a picture, I hope we can get everybody up front.
You want to stay up here?
Stay up here.
We'll stay up here. You stay down.
Get everybody in, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. Should we put that green suit in there? Y'all gonna have to double up, I think. You got a bunch of y'all.
I'm not tall enough to see over Chris even standing up here. No, you're all right.
No, you're here. You want to move? Yeah. Here, wait a minute. We're rearranging up here. There.
You need to give him a shout out before. I'm going to go say.
I've been holding this smile for a while.
Absolutely bored.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. I'll see you Saturday. I'm looking forward.
They could just click them and see you Saturday.
Probably 10, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Photoshop us in. Thank you. I might be this way. My wife and I are I'm not sure what that is.
That's cool. Yeah. Oh, really? Wow. I should have asked him some questions, how you were as a student.
He was a good one.
Okay, is my mic on? Before we move on to our next presentation with Ms. Mary Garcia, I apologize to Mr. Russ Castleberry. If you see a familiar face over to y'all's right and to my left, former county attorney Russ Castleberry is sitting in with us today. As you know, that our County Attorney Stacy Manning resigned to take another job in Volusia County, and we've entered into agreement with Holmes and Young, and so we now have Mr. Castleberry back, so welcome. Good to see you again, okay? If I can call Miss Mary Garcia up, Palaca Trail Town Committee presentation.
No. Oh, is it? Okay.
I appreciate, the only explanation is that I actually made the appointment to put it on the calendar. So I've got with me Robbie Correa, who is the chief goddess of Trail Town for Palatka, Craig McLean, and I've got Linda Kreider with us today. This team has been working together to, I'm going to actually let them explain what we're here for today.
Thank you.
Robbie Correa. Trail Town. What is a trail town? That's what you're all wondering, I'm sure. Palatka was designated the 6th Florida trail town in January. A trail town is a city or town located close to trails, and Palatka is the perfect choice, being a trail hub for kayaking, cycling, as we know, and hiking. And so with that, we're excited to be a Florida trail town. It also is an economic driver. Data shows that people that visit spend 4 times as much as the locals, and those that stay overnight spend 2 times as much as those folks that come during the day. So we're really excited about the possibilities for Palatka and Putnam County. And as a part of that, we're going to celebrate our designation as a trail town on Friday, April 5th at the St. John's River Center from 5:30 to 7:30, light hors d'oeuvres and some little information sharing, and we certainly all hope as many of you can be there as possible. Let Craig come next.
Good morning, Commissioners. Craig McLean, the Vice Chairman of your Waterways and Trails Committee. Just wanted to follow that up with on the following morning after the Trail Town celebration, we're going to be opening the trail section from Hastings to Spuds. It's about a 4-mile section. It's an important connection for our trail system in Palatka and Putnam County. So at 9 o'clock the ceremony will start. I just want to extend an invitation to all that are here, commissioners as well. There will be as well bike ride leaving Palatka at 8 o'clock. There will be a sponsored bike ride by the Bike Florida organization, one of our sponsoring organizations, at 9:45 in Hastings. Just a couple things that are on the calendar looking ahead. We are working towards pulling off a workshop for trail economics and maintenance. We're in the planning stages of that, so stay tuned for that. Another item we'll be working on is the extension of the trail in Hastings now makes a 53-mile contiguous trail that is part of the 101-mile rail trail corridor from Lake City to St. Augustine. That 53 miles is currently hindered by a 2.5-mile gap in Palatka. So shortly we'll be starting an initiative to see if we can expedite that work to get that gap closed. One other note I'll share with you is, as of yesterday, I learned that the construction to continue the section of Highway 20 widening to Interlochen will start in May. There's a public workshop scheduled for that. That's exciting because part of that project will include a separated bike trail from Hawthorne to Interlochen, which will extend the Gainesville to Hawthorne Trail into Putnam County. And the county has also made a request, as of about a year ago, for an assessment to identify a corridor from Interlochen to the Palatka waterfronts to extend that trail system. So thank you for your time. Look forward to seeing you.
Okay, thank you, Craig.
Also, as a quick follow-up, because we're going to continue the party to Saturday and have a wine stroll hosted by Revitalize Historic Palatka in downtown Palatka, and it's an opportunity to visit all the businesses and say hi and see what they have to offer. That's from 5 to 9.
Okay, and that's on, so it's April.
Saturday the 6th.
Okay, April 5th is the reception. Okay.
Right, April 6th is the wine stroll.
And the 6th. Okay.
What is also going to happen on April 5th is something we're very proud of, because our community member who has given tirelessly for 25 to 30 years to create this trail system here in Putnam County and Palatka is going to be recognized by the State Florida Bicycling Association. Craig McLean has received the Volunteer of the Year award, and we will be presenting that. Actually, the executive director will be coming up and presenting that the evening to Craig. No greater honor for somebody who has as you know, work tirelessly. That trail, when it gets done, will be 100 miles through, from and to Palatka and across to St. Augustine, as well as the rest of the trails that are going out in every direction, because we have the only place on the St. Johns River where you can cross safely for 60 miles in either direction. It makes us a hub, and we are rapidly beginning to see that. I have to get back to a full house at the Bartram Inn of people who have come. Yesterday I took them all on the Historic Homes and Murals Loop on 6 bicycles from Canada, Birmingham, Alabama, to see what we have to offer. So I think you all are beginning to see what this community really can be about. They're going to be coming. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Craig. Any questions at all? I just want to thank you for all your efforts, all of you, because it's been a long time coming, but I think it's a good thing. And when it's finished, it'll be definitely bring some tourists, you know, to Putnam County, to our area. So thank you very much. Okay, can we get a picture if we come down front?
Mr. Chairman,
do you have a question?
Craig, is there anything this commission can do to help expedite that 2.5 mile gap and get that finished up?
Yes.
I'm glad you asked.
Glad you asked. Actually, one of the things we need to be cautious with at the moment is DOT's finishing up some acquisitions. So as soon as that is closed, then we can pick that back up, and we'll maybe come make a presentation on that.
We're good.
Okay. Thank you.
Maintenance of the property. You won't beat it to death. Thank you.
Susan's all alone. You're all alone.
Okay, our next presentation, Students Working Against Tobacco, SWAT, Ms. Mary Garcia.
Hi. You can go ahead and hand those out, guys, if you want to. We're so happy to be back. One of the things that we want to do is, one, highlight our students that are working against tobacco, and number two, come share some of the work that they've been doing and how you can help us achieve that as well. So David, as you see, is back helping us. We're glad he's could come out of retirement to come join us. This is our first presentation without him, so clearly we can't do it. We're glad you could be with us today. So I want to introduce Jenny Ramos, who took David's position as our tobacco program manager, and she will introduce our student today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Jenny Ramos. I actually took Dave's position, trying to fill in his shoes, but but we're really glad to have him with us and support our initiatives. So I'd like to introduce Neelam Patel. She's an 11th grade student from QI Roberts, and she's in the Cambridge program. Neelam has been involved in Students Working Against Tobacco, SWAT, for 5 years now. Being the first club that she joined, her passion for educating her peers on big tobacco's tactics and harms has only grown. From statewide meetings to community outreaches and presentations like this, Neelam has shined in our county, and she's a role model. SWAT and QI Roberts and in other schools in our county have been working really hard and diligently on tobacco initiatives regarding youth access to tobacco and tobacco tactics in our county and how they're exposed, like through advertisement and retailers, and also in our environments. So Neelam's going to present today a speech that her and her other SWAT youth have came up on tobacco environments and how it affects animals and us. Thank you.
Hi.
Good morning.
So, smoking, a major part of our economy, available in gas station, convenience stores, and any retail environment. Cigarettes, both traditional electronics, are used in various places such as parking lots, parks, playground, and near our waterway and camping grounds. The smell of smoking lingers in entryways to our stores and benches of our favorite parks in the outdoors event of a beautiful day. Whether it is the promotion of cigarettes on a store window or breathing in secondhand smoke, we are exposed to it. Smoking is in many aspects of today's society and affects more than just us youth. Cigarettes waste can exhale toxic chemicals into the environment and can be carried through drains into our rivers. Also, the most littered item in the country, cigarettes clutter and pollute our soil and waterway and put our animals in danger. Studies show that nicotine, metals, and residues from pesticide seeps through cigarette butts into our aquatic ecosystem, becoming acutely toxic to fish and microorganisms. In addition, cigarette filters tossed on street and beaches do not biodegrade. In response to the growing concern of tobacco waste on the environment, nearly 1,500 cities across the United States has banned smoking in parks. Help us put a stop to the cultural norms and environment damage that occurs due to cigarette use, and help make Putnam County a tobacco-free for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that just tells you that we're going to do a cleanup in May. I have to remind you all, the most thing that we usually pick up, except for tires, are cigarette butts. Right. And it's amazing how much debris accumulates. And if we can work towards getting our parks smoke-free, which we'll come back to you with, and the city of Plaque as well, to make sure our waterfronts are free. As you see, the combination of the economic development and our health really are key to making Putnam County shine and change. So we appreciate your time. And can I get them to get a picture with you?
Thank you, Mary. I have a question, Mary. On the SWAT, are each high school or each middle school, how many SWAT groups are there throughout the county? Do you know?
I'm going to let Jenny answer that. They're growing. It's changes because, as you know, each time a school year and kids graduate, the team fluctuates. But we try to have teams in each quadrant of the county. So I'm going to let you go through.
Thank you. So right now we've got a few really strong SWAT groups, but our goal is to get SWAT in every middle school and every high school in our county. I think it's really important. We've definitely have the interest. We've done tons of SWAT recruitments. We're doing it now at the fairgrounds this whole week, and every time we do outreach, every time we get out to the schools or the community, we get tons of interest in tobacco-related issues. So that's our goal, is to make sure we get it in every school in our county.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions from commissioners?
And I just want to add that not only do we educate students about tobacco, but we also teach them leadership skills by coming and speaking to each one of you and coming to present. And we're very proud that from our school district in Crescent City, one of our SWAT members has grown up to be on the governor's council and now is an attorney and continues the fight against tobacco. So we're really excited about that. So Kareem in our Crescent City. So
yeah, Kareem Golden.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine young man.
So, yeah, absolutely.
District 1, did you say? Where was he?
Where everything goes.
Yeah, from Crescent City, wasn't he? Okay, that's what I thought you said.
Yes, yes. But we do take our students as advocates for state meetings, and that it gives them incredible leadership skills, abilities as well. So it's not just advocacy, it's also leadership skills.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next, item D. Ask Mr. Casey Kaysen to come up if he's here. Proclamation, U-turn, anti-drug and alcohol dependency, community outreach. And I've asked Commissioner Harvey to read this proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir.
I need to give one to her.
Yeah, good.
Sarah, do you want mine? He handed these out. Don't you need one for the record?
I'll give it. Mr. Chairman, if you're ready, proclamation number 2019-24 declaring April 2019 as the month for community awareness and unity in combating drug and alcohol addiction in Putnam County, Florida. Whereas we as a nation continue to experience an ever-increasing drug and alcohol addiction epidemic with new, more potent, and deadly forms of illicit drugs continually flooding all areas of our country. And whereas addicts continually devise new ruses to obtain prescription drugs to feed their addiction, and whereas the devastating consequences drug and alcohol addiction have on all families, communities, crime statistic, healthcare system, and our nation affect every person. And whereas the saddest consequence, drug and alcohol addiction, is the number of deaths as a result of accidental drug overdoses, especially those of young age. And whereas Putnam County's addiction problem continues to grow epidemically, snaring people of all ages and walks of life. And whereas recognizing the grave importance and need to battle this epidemic, some of Putnam County's elected officials, churches, local law enforcement, business owners, citizens, affected family, and friends have united to fight drug and or alcohol addiction and its devastating effects. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners that the month of April 2019 is hereby declared as Community-Wide Anti-Drug and Alcohol Abuse, Addiction Awareness and Combat Month. Be it further proclaimed that all citizens, families, church leaders, congregations, local government leaders, local county and city law enforcement, representatives of our local mental health and drug coalitions, civic organizations, and business owners are hereby encouraged to attend and participate in the upcoming 2019 U-Turn Anti-Drug and Alcohol Dependency Community Outreach to be held at April 13th, 2019 at the John Theobald Sports Complex, 120 Carter Road in Palatka, Florida. Done, ordered, and adopted this 26th day of March 2019. Mr. Chairman, I move approval of this proclamation.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey, proper second by Commissioner Turner. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Proclamation passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners, and good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Casey Kaysen, and I'm the president of U-Turn Community Outreach Incorporated. We're here today for the proclamation declaring April 2019 as a month for community awareness and unity in combating drug and alcohol addiction in Putnam County, Florida. With me today is, starting over here, we have Bob and Donna Mangum from Southside Baptist Church. And they're representing U-Turn today with 2013 and 2017 U-Turn shirts. We have Kim Hughes here with a 2018 U-Turn shirt. And then we have our pastor, Sean Thomas, with us this morning. Our U-Turn treasurer, Greg Harvey, also from Southside Baptist. My wife, Lynette, and our former secretary, Miss Linda Arnold from Southside, and her daughter, Angie Giddens, who is the current secretary at Southside. And then, of course, we have my fellow deacon and brother, Craig McLean, with us this morning. Every year
In the spring, we hold an annual event known as the U-Turn event. This year's event will be held April 13th, 2019 at the John Theobald Sports Complex on 120 Carter Road in Palatka from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. U-Turn is an anti-drug and alcohol addiction community outreach. We call it a fun day about a serious matter. U-Turn Community Outreach addresses drug and alcohol prevention, awareness, offers referrals and help, and most of all, hope for those in need. There will be kids' activities, education and information, dramas and testimonies, live music, speakers, free food, numerous door prizes, and a fun day for the whole family. The entire event is all free to all who attend. All proceeds beyond the cost of the event go towards helping people in our community get freed from the bondage of drug and alcohol addiction by making it possible for them to go through a Christian recovery program. This is only possible by the generous giving of corporations, churches, businesses, and civic groups and individuals in our community just like you. We have a great lineup this year. We've got Teen Challenge groups coming from Jacksonville, Sanford, and Davie, Florida. Our local Hope Builders Celebrate Recovery group, headed up by Jeremy and Melissa Ray, will be there. We have a band coming from Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and our special guest speaker will be Jeremy Cups, Executive Director of Teen Challenge Central Florida Men's Center. This year we have a very special element being added to the event. U-Turn is adding a memory wall to remember those who have lost their lives due to drug or alcohol addiction. This new addition is being headed up by Edie Wilson. If you have a loved one that you would like to be remembered, let me know, and I will get you in touch with her and get you her contact information. This is going to be a very special addition, and we want to remember these people and put faces on the problems that still exist in our community. These are not people from somewhere else. These are our family, friends, co-workers, and neighbors. We are thankful to Edie for taking on this project. It takes a lot to put on this event, and the goal of U-Turn all along has been to help local people who were ready to make a U-turn in their life by turning away from their addiction. I am happy to report that we've been able to do that since 2015. U-Turn has helped many people get into programs since that time. We recently attended a graduation ceremony for a young man who successfully completed the program. He will be a co-MC along with my daughter Shanna, who is also a 2012 Teen Challenge graduate at this year's event. U-Turn was designed to share the love of Jesus with the community in a non-threatening and non-condemning environment, and then through the witness and testimonies of those who've made a U-turn in their lives that can speak it and live it before others and cause those who live in bondage of addiction to see it and want that same abundance in their own life. In fact, the U-Turn foundational verse, 2 Corinthians 5:17 states, "Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new." We hold this event every April to signify the newness of life that is so precious. We are still accepting event sponsorship for this year's event if anyone would like to give. Of course, we accept general contributions year-round. U-Turn Community Outreach, Inc. is a 501c3 nonprofit organization and is fully tax deductible. U-Turn has a website, u-turnoutreach.org, where you can get more information about U-Turn and also make an online contribution. Lastly, I want to thank all of you, the Board of County Commissioners, for not just your support, but also the kindness that we've been shown since we started in 2011. We have received the support of this board and the representation from the board at the event every year since the beginning. And this year will be our 9th annual event, so we really appreciate the commission. It takes a community coming together to reach the community through outreach. U-Turn stands on a foundation of Christian unity, where Christians and community come together to work for good. We are so thankful for you and the businesses and the churches and the fellow citizens that help to continue reaching out to the community and letting them know that there's a hope and a future for them that is free from the bondage of addiction. Our goal is to see hopeless drug addicts turned into drugless hope addicts. Everyone benefits when someone who is headed down a path of destruction makes a U-turn in their life. On behalf of U-Turn and all that stand with me, we want to thank you. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions at all? Okay.
I have a comment.
Mr. Ross.
I serve on the Public Safety Committee, and one thing that we focus a lot on is intervention before people get into the criminal justice system. A lot of it revolves around drug dependency issues. I would encourage you to maybe come to some of these meetings. I think you have a lot of input. And one of the things that I'm advocating for personally as a commissioner is having a facility within our county, because one thing we don't have here at all is any kind of treatment facility, inpatient treatment facility. And we have to send our folks out of county for treatment. If there's any opportunity for you to start attending these meetings, sure would be great.
Yes, sir. You know, it's been a process in the making. We actually had, just last year, we had a young man that had been through the drug court, and that just wasn't working for him, and hasn't for a lot of people. But he was in the county jail out here, you know, looking at some prison time and all that, and we were able to work it out with the Judge Boatwright and some others, and help this man get into a Teen Challenge program. And you know, and that was such a blessing that we're able to start having some cohesion now with the judicial system and different things to help people, you know, in a lasting way. So, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for what y'all do for our community with such a serious issue. And thank you so much, everybody. So, okay, I'd love to get a picture with everybody if we could.
I'll need to shift left.
Yeah, take one giant step. Mother man. There you go. There you go. It wasn't level, was it? You know, sir.
Thank you, young man. I'm quite a critical photographer.
How are you? I'm doing well. I'm very good, Kate. Good to see you. Thank you.
Okay, our next item, item E, proclamation. I'd like to ask Mr. Jim Toronto with the St. Johns River Water Managers District to come forward, and we have a proclamation for Water Conservation Month. And I've asked Commissioner Goddard to read that proclamation.
We're part of a team.
Craig's here again?
He's part of our team.
I know he is.
How do you find time to work and eat, Craig?
We do like to see Craig. Okay, this is Putnam County Proclamation number 2019-22, Water Conservation Month. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida water management districts and Putnam County are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation, and whereas Putnam County and the state of Florida has designated April, typically a dry month, when water demands are most acute. Florida's Water Conservation Month to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas Putnam County has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water and thus promote a healthy economy and community. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Putnam County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims April 2019 as Water Conservation Month in Putnam County and calls upon each citizen and business to help protect our precious resource by practicing water-saving measures and becoming more aware of the need to save water. Done in order, adopted this 26th day of March 2019. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we've got a proper motion by Commissioner Goddard and a proper second by Commissioner Rawls. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Proclamation passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Before I have Jim come up and say a few words, usually Jim is a familiar face here at our Board of County Commission meetings, and usually he's handing us checks. So we've had a great relationship with St. John's Water Management District and Jim with some of our water projects, and we just really appreciate it. And Craig, we've had, 4 or 5 presentations, and I think you've been up in each group. So a very, very involved person in Putnam County, and we thank you. So Jim, if you want to come forward.
Craig, would you like to say anything? Got it. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we thank you for your leadership. We thank you for adopting this proclamation. This is the 21st year that it's been adopted in the state of Florida, and we appreciate the great cooperation. And so it's through leadership, and it's also not only from a government standpoint, but what businesses can do, what the agricultural community can do and has been doing. And more important, it's what our residents can do. Every day we have to look at conserving water. We're not making new water, so we have to look at the overall use that we're going to have and the sustainability that we have for not only our community but through our state as additional people move in and our communities do grow. So on our webpage, there's lots of information, interactive opportunities for citizens to look and see how they can best conserve water, not only, again, communities but businesses. And through our cost share programs, we do have an opportunity for water conservation. So we are wanting to continue to work hard. So on behalf of the 5 water management districts in the state of Florida, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and the American Water Works Association, we again appreciate this opportunity and continue working forward to next year to make our water as sustainable and as precious as it is. And thank you, Commissioner Goddard, for reading that proclamation for us. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments? No? Okay.
I have one comment.
Commissioner Rawls?
You guys started the Water Star compliance program back in 7 or 8. Putnam County's at the precipice of growth, and I think it'd be great if maybe you guys could interact with our building department and start bringing that to the forefront again with development potential in Putnam County. If developers are aware of that, if there's any incentives that y'all used to offer incentives for Water Star compliance, that would go a long way to working with your goals.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, we certainly can do that. Deidre Irwin is our lead conservation. I believe you may know her, Commissioner. And so we'll certainly put her in contact and to push forward those programs that she's working with currently. Absolutely. Good call. Thank you.
You're the man in the middle. Yeah, yeah.
Over here a second.
That's a big sign. Should I ask before not?
Okay, next item on the agenda, item F. I can ask Ms. Stella Brown to come forward for recognition. Stella is the interim library director. We have a recognition of Mr. Mac Willis.
Mr. Chairman, is that his family?
If the rest of y'all want to come up, if your family or just friends or co-workers, co-volunteers, you come forward.
Good morning to each of you in your respectable places.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today I want to recognize one of our youngest volunteers that has basically volunteered nearly 2 decades. So I'm going to share just a little bit about Mr. Mac Wills with you. And I put these on so I can see. At 92 years old, Mac Willis Jr. has long devoted his life to serving others. Born in Honolulu, Mac spent 71 years in Hawaii, living through Pearl Harbor as a child and growing up to serve the U.S. Navy Seabees in World War II. After his tour of service, he joined the Hawaii Army National Guards and went on to serve in Vietnam, receiving a Bronze Star and a Joint Service Commendation Medal. He retired a colonel after 36.5 years of service, but his love for helping others was only getting started. He spent 25 years as the president and treasurer of the Friends of the Honolulu Botanic Gardens, and after building his dream home, the Nene House, he went on to volunteer with the Volcanic Observatory, the Bishop Museum, the Lehman Museum, cataloging their photographic collection. In 2000, Mac moved to Putnam County. Since then, he's been a fixture in the local Palaika Library where he scans through reels and reels of microfilm from the collection of the Palaika Daily News. Our most faithful volunteer, Mac Wills, can be found sitting in front of the microfilm reader printer with his laptop in place. He records deaths, births, and special events into a growing database collection aimed at making access to genealogical and historical information easier for all, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. His newspaper microfilm project covers every newspaper in Palaika from 1884 to 1968. And is still a work in progress today after almost 20 years of research. Since coming to Putnam County, Mac has inventoried all of the cemeteries in St. Johns and Putnam counties. First on foot as he walked through the grounds and crafted burial registers by hand, and later with computer as he entered the data into his collection. He filled in missing graves and gaps in information for over 20,000 St. Johns and Putnam County entries on Find a Grave, the online database and cemeteries across the county. And today I want to recognize Mr. Mac. Mr. Mac is a fixture in the Palaika Library. So when he doesn't show up on Mondays or Wednesdays, we kind of want to get in touch with Tori to find out what's going on. And this is Mr. and Mrs. Rayfield. This is his daughter and that's his son-in-law. But very, very faithful. And he'll come in and he'll say, well, where you been all day? Mind you, he's only been there 5 minutes. But he's just a joy. He's a joy. And one thing about Mr. Mac is he can put a smile on your face even when you think you're having a bad day, because he shared some of his personal information with me. He showed me his Nene house, which was a gorgeous home that he actually designed himself and had built. So he has a lot more information I could share with you, but I know I only have 3 minutes, so I'm not going to go beyond that. But today I just want to recognize him by presenting this certificate to him. And what it basically says is the Putnam County Library System gratefully extend our thanks to Mac Willis for his timeless 2 decades of service and countless dedication to archives and genealogy records. Thank you very much, Mr. Mac.
Yes, Ms. Stella, would he like to make any comments at all? No? Mr. Mack, we want to get a picture with you, so
don't run off.
Don't run off. And just like to say, I'm sure I can speak for all the commissioners. Thank you so much for your service to our country, and thank you for your service to our county, and we really appreciate it.
That's a shame.
Give me one more hand.
Mr. Chairman, that just goes to show there's room for everybody to volunteer in this county.
Yes, yes, there is. Okay, thank you, Ms. Stella. Okay, item G, is Mr. Charles Puckett here?
Okay. Here comes Mary.
Okay, Department of Children and Families proclamation, Child Abuse Prevention Month. So have Mary Garcia, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself. I've asked Commissioner Rawls to read this proclamation.
Thank you. My name is Evelyn Lynham. I'm from the Department of Children and Families, Circuit Administration. I am the Client Relations Coordinator.
I'm Mary Garcia. I'm the Director of the Health Department, but I'm also on the board for the System of Care, the Transition for Youth into Services.
Good morning. My name is Brittany Law, and I'm the Program Operations Administrator with Community Partnership for Children. Kimberly Daly, Victim Advocate with the Putnam County Sheriff's Office.
I'm pleased to be able to read this proclamation for you. This is a proclamation number 2019-25, Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas the Florida's future depends on nurturing the healthy development of our children, and whereas the abuse and neglect of children can cause severe, costly, and lifelong problems, and whereas every child has the right to be safe, healthy, educationally, developmentally, and be on track, and whereas research shows that parents and caregivers who have the support systems and know how to seek help in times of trouble and are more resilient and better able to provide safe environments and nurturing experiences for their children. And whereas individuals, businesses, schools, faith-based and community organizations must make children a top priority and take action to support the physical, social, emotional, and educational development and competency of all children. And whereas the blue and silver pinwheel stands as a symbol for the health and happiness of all children, and whereas during the month of April, Prevent Child Abuse Florida, in collaboration with the Governor's Office of Adoption, the Child Protection and Department of Children and Family Services, and the Outreach, the Ounce of Prevention Fund of Florida, will implement Pinwheels for Prevention, a statewide campaign promoting awareness of healthy child development, positive parenting practices, and the type of concrete support for families within their communities. Now, therefore, the Putnam County Board of Commission hereby proclaims April 2019 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Putnam County and urges all Floridians to engage in activities whose purpose is to strengthen families, communities, to provide the optimal environment for healthy children development. Done and ordered, adopted the 29th day of March 2019. Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
Okay, we got a proper motion by Commissioner Rawls, got a proper second by Commissioner Harvey. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Proclamation passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I do want to thank you all very much for supporting us, Commissioner Rawls and Commissioner Harvey, especially with our safety team that we have going on. And thank you for inviting U-Turn. That's exactly what we need. I just want to let you know and invite you all on April 11th. April 11th from 5 to 7 at the Riverfront, we are having a pinwheel prevention block party. We are going to have our semi-truck there. We're going to have activities for children. And just to let you know, we're kind of changing that. We want to make it positive. We want to make it family-oriented. So we're going to have a lot of activities, a lot of demonstrations, and a lot of things for families to engage with their children, because we know with healthy families, we are going to have healthy children. And that is really what our goal is at this point. And we could not do it without the support of all you commissioners. You have been amazing. And of course, our community behind us. We have a lot of great partners that work with us. And thank you so much. And we hope to see you there, because we got a lot of stuff going on.
Real quick, is that April 11th is a Thursday, correct? Okay.
It's a Thursday, it's in the afternoon.
In the evening. You won't. You know what? You can't miss us, because we're going to have a giant semi-truck with a bunch of pinwheels. Cool. And we also have, the Sheriff's Department going to be there. We also have St. John's Auto Body. They're going to show the kids how to work a tow truck. We've got Pax Karate doing demonstrations. So we have a lot of stuff. I'm going to be helping children make fishing poles. So, oh, Lord. Right?
What do you need for that?
You know what? I'm glad you asked that. We're looking for anybody who has cane fishing poles.
I've got 3 bundles of these. I do. You got them.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
We're giving to the church. So we got them.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, we're going to teach them how to
I was
fish.
wondering what I was going to do with these things.
Thank you.
There's a pile.
Exactly. Yes.
Anybody else want to say anything? Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, may I say, we were talking about Craig, but look at Mary standing here.
I know.
Mary comes up here, and look at everyone here. They're all busy in this community, making this Putnam County a better place to live. And I just, Kim, even Saturday, you're out here working your butt off to feed all the people that we fed. And it's just amazing to see the activity to make Putnam County better. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I come down here, you're going to look really small.
Yeah, and I even put heels on. Nice.
If I can. Mr. Chairman, before we start, could we ask Colonel Wells to move to the right side of the room? Because it's hard for me to see him over on the left side for some reason. I'm just teasing. He always sits over there. I always look for him. So
Don't want to break.
just something different.
OCD.
There you go.
Works for me.
We're going to take a 3-minute break.
3 minute even, or 3 minutes and 27 seconds?
3 minutes even. If everybody will take a seat, we'll start in about 30 seconds. I don't want to catch on to it. Sarah, you ready? Okay, we'll reconvene our regular board meeting, and I think that's all the presentations. And we'll move to public comment portion of this meeting. Public comment portion is designed to allow citizens the opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the Board of County Commission. It's not reasonable for us to enter into a debate or deliberation on matters that we have received no prior knowledge. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. We would appreciate if you would fill out a public comment card. They're available on either the exit or the entrance of our building. And you turn them in to Sarah Oliver over on the right-hand side to my left. And when you come to the podium, please speak clearly into the microphone and give us your name and address. So we'll start with the first speaker. It's Mr. Ronald Kaysen. Would you come forward, please?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Ronald Kaysen, and I live out here at 129 Confederate Point Road, just off Horseman's Club. I'm 78 years old. I've lived in Palatka about 70 of those years, and this is my hometown. I tell my Georgia friends I was above average because by the time I was 6 weeks old, I was smart enough to move to Florida. But I have a couple of comments and a couple of questions this morning. The first one, positive. It was good to read in the paper that there's been contracts in the works to resurface St. John's Avenue from, I think, Highway 19 out to Ziegler Drive. And I, too, like Rusty Starr, have counted the imperfections in that road, and there's 19 of them that will send you to the chiropractor if you're not careful. The second thing, I see in the paper a good bit of comment about big trucks on Krill Avenue. And I did some investigation recently. I don't know if big trucks use GPS or road signs. I suspect that many of them rely on road signs. But when you come in Highway 20 from Gainesville, the first sign you see that says anything about truck routes or turn left or whatever is there at Moody Road, which is just one city block before Highway 19. Now, I went out to Francis yesterday, and there's about 6 bicycle signs. And then you get up there 1 block from where a truck, if he's in the lane that says truck route east, straight ahead, in less than 300 feet, if he's going to stay on the truck route and not go down 20, he's got to turn left on Highway 19, and that's what we want them to do. But somebody needs to investigate that. Those signs need to be somewhere out around Francis or somewhere in that area to give them time to get in the right lane and know that they've got to make a turn if they don't want to go through downtown Palatka with an 18-wheeler. And that's part of the problem. Number 3 is I want to complain about the condition of the road of Krill Avenue on in through Palatka and ask the question, is there a plan to do something with that? Now, I don't need an answer today, but somebody needs to address that. Number 4, you have an emergency out here with the intersection of Moody Road and St. John's Avenue right in front of Carl Flagg's church. The pavement is giving way there. And the last time I saw a piece of road like that, and there's a manhole cover right there that you can see, so I'm sure it's something to do with drainage or whatever. But I was in Beersheba, Morocco, and one morning I feel the back end of my car do this when I went going through town. Well, when I come back that afternoon, here the road's dug up and, all barricaded off and everything. And I found out later that some car had been severely damaged, and because the road gave way and, and damaged that car. But anyway, it's going to take weeks and maybe months to get this work done on St. John's Avenue. And I don't think that place out there can wait till midsummer. So that's my my commentary about some issues that I have strong feelings about, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kaysen. Commissioner Turner, Harvey, you want to make a comment?
Thank you. Mr. Kaysen, it's kind of funny that you stand up here today, and I was out front Saturday at Farm Share with Representative Payne. I would encourage you to call Representative Payne's office. He has some ideas, and he's pushing them with the rerouting of the trucks on 19 and contacting GPS, but I'm not going to put words in his mouth. Contact Representative Payne, because he sat right out there Saturday and told me he had a plan to solve some of that problem. So do that also, okay, sir?
I can do that, but I'm sure that he would be more attentive to comments from this body than he would from me.
Yeah,
I know him, just vaguely, but I'll try to do that.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Commissioner
yes.
Rawls.
The intersection that you're referring to, I believe the utilities are in the ground there belong to the city of Palatka. I'm not sure that that's going to be addressed right now. So you might want to bring the issue up with the city of Palatka. There's a lift station there, and I believe the manhole you're talking about is from that lift station. And am I correct in saying that the city's going to be doing utility work out there in the next couple of years?
I went to City Hall about 2 months ago and brought this up, and they, told me it was the county's responsibility. So,
well,
but I wasn't surprised to hear that either.
Okay. Commissioner Goddard.
Yeah. What I was going to address is those several areas that you spoke are in the city. They actually are the city's property, but we are working. The county is working with the city and is working with the Department of Transportation. We're trying to work all that together to get it done. It's there. We can't make them do it, but we are helping them to get this done.
Well, there's an emergency out there at Moody Road and St. John's Avenue as we speak.
Yes, there is.
Okay, thank you.
I agree. Thanks, sir.
Anybody else?
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Harvey.
Mr. Kaysen, the gentleman back there in the red shirt, see that? He's our Public Works Director. He can talk to you about that Moody and St. John's Avenue. We've been working on that for a long time. So go see Mr. Press
Okay,
Tompkins.
I will. One last comment. My blood pressure went up this morning when I drove in the parking lot. I had a county employee in a county vehicle, and it was a GMC Tahoe, a $60,000 vehicle. Unnecessary.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, our next speaker, Mr. James Lilly. If you would give us your name and your address, and we'd try to limit it to around 3 minutes.
Okay, sir. My name is James Lilly. I'm at 728 Call Farms Road in Floor Home, and it's good to be here before you this morning, gentlemen. My concern, I just was informed yesterday concerning this, and I'll just read this little statement to keep it in 3 minutes here. The contractor that's Aquatic Control Group, who's cleaning out the drainage canals in the area of Floor Home and 16 miles of it, is I just want to draw your attention to the large sandbar in Mallet Lake Canal. The large sandbar is within the first quarter mile of Carl Farms Road culvert at Haas Road going east from there. The large sandbar needs to be removed, and this area of Mallet Lake Canal needs to be restored to its original depth to restore proper drainage. Mallet Lake Canal is the only drainage canal for hundreds and hundreds of acres in this area, which includes we farmers, ranchers, homeowners, and timber people, and more taxpayers. We are asking that you look into this and help us get a work order to clean out this sandbar, this large sandbar in this particular canal, and to restore the Mallet Lake Canal to its original elevation in this particular area as soon as can be possible, since hurricane season is coming upon us in just a few months. Hopefully we can work out hopefully you can work out a deal with the aquatic control group to clean out this, to dig out this drainage canal system at this present time to remove this large sandbar before they leave this area. Now, I was just informed yesterday they do not have a work order to remove this particular sandbar. As we speak this morning, they are removing a sandbar on the south end, in the south end of Etnow Creek Canal, and also they got a work order to remove a sandbar that's in the spur right there in 100 that comes around into Etnow Creek. And also they have a work order to eliminate a sandbar in the east Etnow Creek Canal past Carl Farms Road and into Surprise property. And they do not have a work order to remove this particular sandbar in Mallet Lake Canal. And it's a very large, and I was stated before, it covers, that's the only drainage for hundreds and hundreds of acres in that particular area there, including me farmers and on my farm. I have part of my farm leased out, and they told me if we can't get rid of this drainage problem, they're not going to lease my property anymore. So this is very important to help all of us in that particular area to have this particular sandbar removed like they're doing now. And I understand that speaking to Aquatic Control Group yesterday, it's $5,500 for a week work, and they said it would take about 2 to 3 days to get this sandbar out. So that's very minimum to work out a deal with them while they're there now, instead of having to contract with somebody else to bring all the equipment in. They're there at the present time, and that's a very reasonable price to do that work. And they say they can do it within 2 or 3 days. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Rawls?
Was this an unforeseen condition, or was this known before they started mobilizing equipment and moving?
These sandbars were all known through the area when they started cleaning that out, when they had got the contract from the Putnam County to do the work. But the USDA, as you understand, was helping in the expense of this. And so, but the USDA, as you all understand, didn't include the sandbars, just the cleaning out of the canal debris and the foliage and all. And now I understand that they're coming back in now. They must have worked out a deal with the county or something to clean out the sandbars. But they didn't get a work order to clean out this particular sandbar, but they do have work orders from these other areas that they're working on at this present time as we speak. And so I'm coming before you this morning to see if you can assist in getting a work order for this particular sandbar.
I have one more question. Can anybody tell me how long they'll be mobilized in the efforts to remove the sandbars? Because if we were to bring this up at a workshop, it's going to be weeks from now. And if they're demobilized and moving south, or east, that's going to cost more money.
Press, can you answer that, or?
That's what I was gonna ask. Could you
just
get Press to come up?
Yeah, Press, you just come up and.
Entirely accurate what's been said.
Aquatics, they told me they'll be here in this area about 2 more weeks to finish this up.
Good morning. This particular area he's talking about is outside the scope of work that we had. We do not have recorded easements on this area. We identified, I think, 17 or 18 sandbars within the scope of work we had. We got permission from the Water Management District to do the sandbars within the limits of the scope of work that we had. This is outside of that. This would require additional permitting from the district, a lot of work to be resolved to do this, and securing permanent easements to do the work. So we're doing everything we could do. Like I said, this board did approve additional work for the sandbars within the limits of construction we previously established with the district.
Okay, so this is outside the scope of the work of this project?
Yes, sir.
Right, okay.
But they do have work orders to remove the sandbars in the clay area of Etna Creek Canal, and also they have work order to remove the sandbar in that spur off of 100 that goes into Etna Creek. And they also have a work order to remove the sandbar in the Superior area of the Etna Creek Canal. And that's my question. Why do not they have a work order to do this particular sandbar? That's very vital to hundreds and hundreds of acres and to a lot of farmers, ranchers, homeowners in this particular area.
It sounds like Mr. Tompkins just said that it's outside, their work zone. So it's not, that area is not permitted. It's outside the work zone. It might be something that you and your neighbors might be able to take up, get permitted, and maybe use them.
Outside the work zone, this particular canal, Meadow Lake Canal, was in the contractor, the 16 miles of this clean out that was permitted to do. Look on the map. It's on the map.
Mr. Chairman, while I appreciate Mr. Lilly's intense opinion on this, I really do. I mean, but I think we've got to take the word of our Public Works Director, who just walked up here and said it was not within the scope of work. Now, I'm not saying that who's right or who's wrong or anything, but I'm going to have to take the opinion of our Public Works Director, who just came up here and said it's outside of the scope of the work.
Okay, Mr. Lilly, if you just hang on just a second.
May I comment on this one
Can you hang on just a second?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think the
Mr.
most important thing I heard Press say was we don't have easements for that area, whether it was in the zone or not, we couldn't do it anyway.
Okay.
Is that what you said, Press?
This is all, may I make one comment?
Yes, sir.
That, remember, Mr. Harvey, when you came out at Floor Home with the maps, to draw in the areas that needed to be cleaned out before this contract was let?
Those areas that you I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Those areas that we brought out those maps for were areas that you had concerns about, all the people had concerns about. But the scope of work wasn't, just because you marked up a map, didn't include that. And Mr. Tompkins has been working with you for a few weeks now, because I've been getting the emails letting you know this. So you've had time to get with Mr. Tompkins and our county manager. This board did approve an additional $25,000 to clean out those sandbars inside that scope of work. That did happen, and everybody knew that. You had town hall meetings about that. You've had time to get with him. I suggest if you want to get that done, you might want to hurry up and have that conversation today. He's right here in the room, Mr. Lilly.
Very good, then.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lilly, thank you.
Okay, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll see. Paul was next. He had to leave. Okay. Okay, next up, speaker, Mr. Sam Carr.
Sam Carr, 108 Riverside Drive, Satsuma, or
beacon number 13. I come to you today as the newly designated president of the Bartram Trail Society of Florida. It's a new name. In 2012, Commissioner Nancy Harris started as the chairman of the Putnam County Waterways Committee, formed a committee called the Bartram Trails and Putnam County Committee. And that committee was the one that she put me at the head of it, and 4 years later we wound up as a National Recreation Trail. So that all happened as a committee underneath the Putnam County Waterways Committee. That committee stayed together and has operated actually in cooperation with the Putnam Blueways and Trails. And that way we were able to accept grants and these kind of things to help support the National Recreation Trail, which is designated in June of 2016. Since then, we have decided that it's time for us to splinter off to being a county committee, and so we have formed our own 501c3, and the name of that is the Putnam County, or I'm sorry, it's the Bartram Trail Society of Florida. So we have expanded our sphere of influence to the whole region that Bartram traveled here in the state of Florida. So we will continue to be the stewards of the Bartram Trail and the Bartram Trail and Putnam County National Recreation Trail. That is part of our bylaws. So we will continue to that. But we also are going to be approaching the other counties up and down the St. Johns River to join with us to develop that. As a result of that effort, Commissioner from Jacksonville by the name of Lori, forget her last name, she came to town. Pardon me? Lori Boyer came to town and met us at the River Center, and she wanted to know about our Bartram National Recreation Trail. And so I told her, and with that, she picked up the phone. She called 2 people in Jacksonville and asked them to come to Palatka to see what we've got going, because they want to do the same thing in Jacksonville. So tomorrow, the executive director of the Tourist Development Council of Jacksonville will be here in town to tour what y'all have created. It's awesome. And so we'll be expanding that. For your information, also, Volusia County has already started theirs. And also, this is really exciting for the group and so forth. And I just want to let you know that that's the transition that has been made. And also be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Sam. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment.
Okay. Commissioner Harvey?
You know, we talked earlier about all the people that volunteer in this community, and here's one of the best ones right here, promote Putnam County throughout Florida, and you do. And I just wanted to say to you as a board member up here, thank you for all you do for our county and our region, for everything you do to promote Putnam County. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sam. When will the Bartram Frolic be?
Oh, okay, sure. So here are some of the events that are coming.
Don't have another 3 minutes.
Okay, I understand. Bartram Frolic will be September the 27th this year. Hopefully that's a Saturday, 28th to 27th. And that's when it'll be. And again, we will try to educate another 1,000 second graders here in Putnam County during that period of time. And we will have frolicking and frivolity. So it'll be fun and all of that. And so also, on April the 20th is William Bartram's birthday. And so the Bartram Trail Society of Florida is sponsoring a sunset wine cruise in benefit of, or to recognize Mr. Bartram's birthday here in Putnam County. And so you can go to our Facebook page and sign up for that. It'll be packed. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Can I ask one question?
Commissioner Rawls?
What is grog and how does it fit into the picture?
Grog. Well, the frolic was actually established in 1774, last weekend of September. The Indians went to St. Augustine and traded all of their horses for rum. And when they came back to Palatka, they decided to, the local traders here at Spalding's Lower Store down at Stokes Landing wanted to be sure that it was rum, to trade for the goods that they needed to go on the warpath. So They tapped the keg, and 10 days later, they drank all 100 gallons of rum, and that's what William Bartram wrote in his book as the frolic at Spalding's Lower Store. So that's how I got started. So the grog is to honor the frivolity that occurred. If you haven't read the story, it's just awesome. It really is. But I thought it was uniquely Palatka, and so that's why we named it the Bartram Frolic. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Questions? Good.
Thank you, Sam.
See y'all.
Okay, next speaker, Mr. Douglas Hayes.
Good morning. My name is Douglas Hayes. I live at 216 Hilltop Road, Satsuma. I'm here today to inform you of my findings in regards to the concern on the last time I visited you with the dog tags. Turns out that it's $5 for an animal that's been fixed and $7 for an animal that has not been fixed. I've been made aware that there's, last year was $39,000. If we look at a ballpark idea that there's 75,000 people, I know people that have more than one dog, a low number of 60,000 dogs, where's the accountability for the 39,000 when we could possibly have $250,000 or more for revenue? I figured out why. When you go to a brick and mortar veterinarian, they provide the service, and in that process you get the rabies tag, which is what everybody seems to get, and then it's a separate token for the dog license. My dogs technically are not licensed. I was unaware of it, and I think a lot of citizens are as well. What it's turning out is that when I go to the Dollar General and line up like everybody else for the low-cost shots, which is an outside entity out of DeLand and the surrounding counties, they are not providing that service to draw the revenue for licensing. So I suggest to go to the Supervisor of Animal Control, because it is a logged event for the rabies. Get your population of how many are been vaccinated, look at the difference of the revenue that could be drawn, and then possibly as policymakers to create policy that if you're going to come in from outside county and provide these services, that you have to collect the tax. One of the things would be is that if everybody pays into that tax, we might be able to lower that revenue required. So it's only $3. The other question, option two, is when we're providing chips for dogs, that in lieu of the token, that could be part of the logged of the tax. Question I have is when we provide animals for free adoption and when they're adopted, are they licensed? Because they may have their rabies shot, but they're not licensed. And that's pretty much it on that topic. While I can consume a little bit more time, I'd like to offer a suggestion in regards to the cadaver pickup. I'm under the impression that you're going to discuss the contracts. I would like to suggest that because one of the grievances was the delay in pickup time, is to work similar to the way the tow trucks are, where you have regions and it'd be a rotating aspects of who's picking it up versus one individual that's contracted. It'll be fair for all the people that can provide that service. It'll be more expeditious, and it won't necessarily lock into a particular company for years on end. Create competition. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
God
Thank you, Mr.
bless.
Hayes. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, our next speaker, Mr. Larry Bowling. And Sarah, you got a copy of this? This is one you need back, okay?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'll be stay within my time limit here. Thank you for letting me speak to the board. I'm here today to ask the Board of County Commissioners to hopefully intervene, and maybe Mr. Suggs, to get some alignment between Public Works, the Property Appraiser's Office, and the Tax Collector's Office regarding this River Shores Road issue that we started working with the Board of Commissioners on or about in December. At that time, if you recall, this is the road up in Botswick that got left out of the 2000 county ordinance, where they came in and paved a lot of roads. There were some ownership issues. The affected property owners, we still believe, and at least the public or the property appraiser's office and the tax collector's office still show this road as two parcels, both owned by the county. Well, one's owned on a tax deed, the other's on a right-of-way deed, but they're both listed as county properties. Public Works feels there's this government lot line between, or government lot, 1 and 2, that there's potentially a little third parcel down there that is a that's a right-of-way issue for the county that is still privately owned. And so why I'd like to be here is we're on the schedule for we were trying to get on the transportation workshop this afternoon that was canceled. But we are going to be on back at addressing the issue in April's workshop, and through a data request to Public Works, I've been unable to bring closure on the matter. I was directed to go to the tax collector's office and the property appraiser's office, which I've already been there, and there are no records of this, who owns this orphan parcel, if it is indeed. The property appraiser's office, Mr. Clay Davis, indicates that if there's truly an orphan parcel, that they'll pick it up and it's going to be assigned to the county. So it's going to be another county parcel because the property owners, it's a little section of the road. It's only 1,600 linear foot. There's a tax deed on 800 feet of it. This other 800 foot is the section is it owned by the county, is it not? And so we just need to get some assistance to get closure on it one way or the other so we can move forward with trying to get this road adopted, put into the maintenance plan or not. But right now, this ownership issue, we can't bring closure on it. So we ask for the assistance there.
Okay, and you're scheduled to be on the next transportation meeting?
That's correct. And at that time, we do want to address, I think one of the commissioners at the last two meetings brought up concerns about policy that you can't take county assets across a privately owned road. Our data request revealed there's nothing in writing on that. There's also nothing written policy-wise on how Public Works fills out either a tax deed or a right-of-way deed. And Mr. Castleberry will tell us that they're two significant issues. A tax deed, you get a little more ownership. A right-of-way, you don't necessarily get that under Florida law. And these were, that potentially is the reason this parcel of land is now orphaned through whoever filled it out. So we can talk about that at the workshop, but we need to get the 3 county offices in alignment.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes, I think I'm the one in workshop that made the comment that even if we figure this out and get it to where the road, we figure out who this property belongs to or whatever, that does not mean the county is going to take this into the maintenance system, because we have set the precedence previous to now that tax deeds in the county that may contain a road are not a road that is owned by the county. It's a different thing. It's a tax deed that was bought previously by the county that contains a road. That's not the same as if it's a county maintained road. So I just need you to understand that as we move forward into workshop.
Yes, sir, and I do, and I appreciate the feedback there. Why we're trying to move forward, we fully understand that, again, is that in 1999, when Linda Myers was setting up here, now she's the tax collector, apparently the county wanted to support the whole neighborhood. They went in and through the records request, and this was found in Public Works file, through a records request research, I went in, there was a letter from her to an individual at Public Works to go out and see who all owned these roads. The individual in Public Works in 1999 actually identified River Shores Road as being owned by somebody that has never owned the road. So that memo itself is in error. And then 2000 rolls around and the county votes to pick up all the roads but River Shores Road, which is the road we're talking about. And the ordinance was provided to the staff today. So these are things we can carry over to the workshop, but regardless of where it goes with the road being adopted, we need to get closure on now. Is the county going to say, yes, we own this little potential orphan parcel, or is there no orphan parcel, which would get the 3 departments within the county aligned, tax collector, property appraisers, and Public Works. So.
Okay, all right.
Thank
so
you.
We'll work towards that.
Mr. Chairman?
Can we make sure that we get copies of this so Administrator Suggs can have this and Public Works and Property Appraiser, Tax Collector also, and Commissioner Rawls, and then we'll wrap this up.
It sounds like we might need to invite the property appraiser and the tax collector to the meeting and have them do some advanced work for us to be able to have a meaningful conversation, because questions have been brought up now. If we can get some of them answered before the transportation meeting, we might be able to bring this to a resolution. Otherwise, we'll kick the can down the road another month. So I would say that we might want to reach out to them and see if they can, what you described, is that in the packet that was just given to?
Yes, and your letter as well. And Mr. Clay Davis has been outstanding trying to get this resolved, but they're working with Palatka Abstract and Title, and you know, it's been going on now for 3 months. They haven't got anything in writing, and we need to get that in writing so that, again, the county can align the records, and there's potentially a piece of land out there that nobody's been paying taxes on. So
I think it's going to be important for us to be able to have a meaningful conversation about that piece of property and the disposition of it at that point, in order for us to move it forward. Because if it's lingering out there that does not belong to us or is not a responsibility, that takes a conversation in a different direction. But if it is our responsibility, we need to know that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ross. Commissioner Turner?
Yes, I think that's what we asked them to do at the workshop when we last talked about this.
Correct.
Was that we asked the property appraiser if they could, Clay Davis, if he could come up with some kind of a recommendation on who may own that property or whatever. Nobody owning that property is not going to keep them from getting up to crossing it, because they've crossed it for enough years. They're going to have prescriptive easement over it for their road. What it's doing is keeping it. We're not allowed by policy or by statute, I'm not sure, and so I'm not going to say, we're not allowed to cross private property to get to a road that we want to maintain. We've got to have easement to get all the way through there. And so that's where the gist of this whole situation is. We can't even consider taking this road into the maintenance system unless, I don't think we can take it with prescriptive easement into the maintenance system. We have to have we have to have ownership of the road. And so I think that's what they're trying to figure out now, and I understand Larry's frustration, I really do. But if they've got Warren Wilhite on it down at Palatka Abstract, if he can't figure it out, I certainly can't. And so I don't know where we go from there, and that's why I think we need to let them finish their work and then take this up again in workshop.
Exactly. Okay. Administrator Suggs, did you have a comment?
Yes, sir. Just a clarification. I believe Commissioner Turner said it. The reason why Mr. Wilhite was reached out to, I believe it was Clay Davis from the property appraiser's office who was reaching out to Mr. Wilhite, was to see if they could establish ownership of that property. So bringing a tax collector and a property appraiser in at this time, I don't think it's going to do us much good other than to start having some conversations until we figure out from Mr. Wilhite just who actually has ownership of it. And then we can start having that conversation with the property appraiser and tax collector, but I think we need to establish that first.
Well, the property appraiser was at that meeting that day. That's Clay Davis. And,
yep.
And that's what they came up with, was to go to Palatka Abstract.
Correct.
And try to get them to identify who owns the property. And like I said earlier, if Warren can't do it, I can't do it. I don't have the ability. And so, you know, I think we've got to wait until that runs its course. And if we get a letter from Palatka Abstract that says they can't determine it either, I guess we could take it from there and decide what we do through legal counsel of, you know, whose property it is. If there's an unidentified piece of property, I'm sure there's something we can do with it. I just don't know what at this time.
Roger that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Ross?
Just to be clear, what I'm saying is I personally don't see it being relevant to bring to the next Transportation Committee meeting if this is not resolved. If we're going to have a conversation about it at the next Transportation Committee meeting, then we do need to have those players at the table to at least be able to address that. I'd also like to ask, you mentioned policy on not being able to cross privately owned roads, and you're questioning whether or not it's actual policy. Can we get a ruling on that at some point? on what the county's official policy is. He's saying that he can't find it in writing. I've been told it verbally. Is there a policy in the county that says that our folks cannot cross a private road to get to a county-maintained road? Because this seems also to be an issue.
Okay. Administrator Suggs, could you reach out to, I guess, tax collector, property appraiser, Warren Wilhite, abstract, like abstract title before, and just see where he is with the decision on this, and maybe get Mr. Castleberry to look at and see if there is policy about crossing private property to get to a county-maintained.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We'll certainly do that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else wishing to make a public comment? Okay. We'll close the public comment portion of this meeting. We'll move to the consent agenda. Item number 4. Commissioners, any items you wish to pull? And I'll start to my immediate right with Commissioner Goddard.
No, sir, I have none.
Okay. Commissioner Rawls.
I have item B and item F.
Oh, and speaking of F, we need to, and I had it written down, we need to, I'll turn it over to Administrator Suggs. There's been a change in item F, and he'll explain the change.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The information that you received in your packet for item F was a change order. I believe it was in the amount of $75,000 some odd dollars. In reviewing that document, Public Works found a discrepancy in the math. And so the actual item is $68,000 and some change, and that is the information that you have in front of you. So it was not advertised correctly. And so we just wanted to ask that you pull that item from your agenda and let us submit the new item with the corrected information and costs associated with the change order.
Okay. Do we need a motion on that to motion and a vote, or we can just pull it?
Just pull it. I mean,
Okay.
I think Commissioner Rawls
Okay, so
just pulled it.
he has
so
pulled
that's
that,
fine.
so that'll take care of that. Okay, Commissioner Harvey?
I have none. It was going to be F also, but Commissioner Ross pulled it.
Okay, and Commissioner Turner?
Yes, I would like to pull item L, please.
Okay, and I have none. Okay, could we get a motion to go ahead and approve the rest of the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we can approve the consent agenda items A, C, D, E, G, H, I, J, K, and M.
Second.
A proper motion by Commissioner Harvey and a proper second by Commissioner Turner. Any discussion?
Commissioner Rawls.
Excuse me, Commissioner Rawls.
We look the same. Look the same.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, Commissioner Rawls. Item B, we'll start with B.
Excuse me. I read through the ratified agreement between the bargaining unit and the county for the Carpenters Union, and I had a couple of concerns. The one thing that jumped off the page, I talked about this yesterday with Administrator Suggs, was the fact that the local has a statement in here that they're not anticipating they're not requesting any pay raises. They're acknowledging no pay raises before March of 2020, and realizing that they have a Me Too clause in here. The question came up was, we're not through budget yet, and yet they're rolling over and saying, we're not expecting a pay raise. But as I continue to read through, and I read through this 2 times, I found a litany of typos where words were condensed and put together. And I reached out to Lori at Human Resources, and Tabitha responded back saying that what was actually delivered for ratification did not have those typos. So my concern is that somebody has in some way tried to manipulate the document. And I would personally think that it needs to go back to the body for ratification in a different form that doesn't have the typographical errors in it, and then come back before this board, because the typos start around, I got about 4 pages that I have them circled on, starting at page 15, and they pick up. On page 16, there's half dozen places or more. Page 17, same thing, and 18. So personally in my business life, I initial the bottom of pages as I sign a contract. But it looks like there's potential for that, and for that reason, I would say that we not move forward with this.
Okay. Is that in a motion?
I'd make a motion that we send this back in a cleaner form to be re-ratified by the union local, and then come back before us.
Okay, we got a proper motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'll second it because I need to discuss the.
Okay, we got a second by Commissioner Harvey. Any deliberation? We'll start with Commissioner Harvey.
Commissioner Rawls, you pointed out some areas, but I guess my question is, does the typos change the content of the contract with the Carpenters Union? I mean, is it really substantial? Is it 2 spelled 2000, or does it really change the content or the spirit of the ratification here?
I don't know, because the question that Tabitha brought up was, she sent it out in one form. It came back in another form. Something happened. So, prudence prevails that it should be sent back out in a form and come back in the same form. If somebody ran this through a PDF converter to put it into a Word document to add language, that doesn't bode well for us, obviously. So either somebody sits down and read the original document side by side with this one. At this point, you can't do a word count because the page 17, section 1, plan that's not a word, it's 2 words. So if you read the pension plan that as 2 separate words, it means one thing, but the word plan that is not a word. And then you've got 3 or 4 words crammed together on the first section 2, first line. But my question was, number 1, did anybody from our side read this? And if they did, how did they not catch these mistakes? And Tabitha says, yeah, we read it, and these mistakes weren't in there. But they're in here now, and this is signed by them. So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong going on here. I'm just saying that there is an appearance of something wrong, and it would take a few minutes to fix it.
Mr. Chairman, while I still have the floor, could it just be that we approve the corrected copy and send it back for signatures at that point? Would that be something that this board could possibly do?
I believe you could do that. It would certainly be an option to do that. I wasn't privy to this conversation yesterday. I was privy to the earlier conversation. Tabitha obviously has some information. Tabitha, is there anything you want to share? Do we need to ask IT Director, Mr. Senior, if he's got any suggestions on what may have happened with the document?
When I sent to the union was a PDF version. There were no typos. There are no material changes. We reviewed what they sent back to us, and there are no material changes. The typos, the only thing I sent them was a PDF version. The only thing I can imagine is that they attempted to convert the PDF I sent them to a Word document, and it messed up the formatting. But there are no material changes. Everything is exactly the same. We reviewed what they sent back to us. So I think you could approve. I'll just print out the document that I actually sent to them that has the correct spacing, and they would re-sign that. There are no material changes.
I think that would be good.
That'd be acceptable. Okay, you want to withdraw the motion?
I'll withdraw it.
Okay, you withdraw the second?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, any other concerns on item B? Okay, we'll move down to item F, also Commissioner Rawls.
So you got $1 million contract. It says the contract provided their bid based on the original construction plans. The engineer design had initially planned some construction work within the acquired temporary construction easement that the County Public Works did not approve. My question is we're being asked to pay an additional $70,000 for work that really goes back to an error on the part of a design professional. Is that really our responsibility?
Press, you want to come up and address this for us?
Yes, sir. On the change order, we made a change to the design plans in concurrence with DOT to reduce the amount of impacts on the roadway. And in doing that, we actually received a credit from the contractor for that amount of work. And then what we did was, what we have found out when we did Lake Susan Drive, which is several just miles away from this, the type of material, the sandy material that we're running into on the ditch slopes, the hydro seeding is not standing up to that. It's just not taking. So we did a change order here in front of the board for Lake Susan to put sod down for the same reason, and this was the change order to come back to you. There were several other minor cleanup issues, but basically it was to put the sod down in the roadside ditches rather than the hydro seeding. And we did all the math on it, and going back and forth, basically what it came out to be was a $68,000 change order to Best and Smith to actually put the sod down.
I think you're looking at a different change order, because this one clearly says that the engineer design had initially planned some construction work within the TCE, and the Putnam County Public Works did not approve of this. The construction plans had to be revised. This isn't about hydro seeding and sod. This is about a design change that costs $68,000. And my question is, it's not 10%, but it's about 6.8% of the total contract. So,
Mr. Tom, it's on page 42 of the.
Yeah.
I apologize, Commissioner, I don't have that particular sheet in front of me. I know that the change order that we have in front of you.
This is the actual change order. This is language on the change order itself, where it says justification.
Mr. Chairman, while he's doing that, may I make a comment?
Yep, Commissioner Harvey.
Mr. Rawls, do you mind?
Go ahead.
My understanding is that, Mr. Tompkins, some of the road had to be changed to fit the right-of-way requirements, and the ditches had to be sloped at a more significant level than what was designed for based on right-of-way movement. And that's what caused the seeding and mulching not to happen and the sodding to happen. Is that correct?
That is partially, and I apologize. I see what you're seeing now. What had happened was, when the original designer did the work, he put on the plans that we were going to acquire a temporary construction easement for some of the slope stabilization. When we realized what had happened in this, we went back and said, we are not going to acquire TCEs. So we went back to DOT, and we were able to lessen up the road footprint. We went from 22 feet, from 24 feet to 22 feet, and we're able to bring the ditches in so the TCEs weren't necessary. So it's not it was a design flaw, it was that we looked at it as value engineering, that we were able to save money and did this stuff within the existing right-of-way and not have to acquire TCEs. There was really no change order to that other than the credit we got to lessen the amount of asphalt and base work we did. And this change order represents that change, that we're getting the credit for the reduced roadway profile. But in the meantime, we found out that we need to put the sod down. So when we took the deductive change order for the road work plus the sod work, that's when it came out to be a $68,000 change order to be able to stabilize the ditch slopes in the roadside swales.
Just out of curiosity, how many square feet of sod are we talking?
32,000.
Square yards.
Square yards.
533 pallets. I've done them.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Turner.
The additional monies that are being sought today, the $68,000, that's, you have Scott money in right now to pay for that. It's not coming out of our budget,
Yes, sir.
correct?
We have Scott money, and DOT's already agreed to this, that the change order was appropriate.
Okay, so it's not gonna cost the county any money out of Better Place or out of
No,
the
sir.
general fund?
This is all Scott
All
money.
Scott money from DOT?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other? Okay. I had neglected to take care of a little bit of business. We'll vote on these individually. So the chair will entertain a motion to accept item F as presented.
So moved.
Okay, we got a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Goddard. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Item F passes, and if we can back up and take care of item B.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Press.
Thank you.
If we can get a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move the item B with the typos be corrected and sent back for ratification.
I'll
I've
second.
got a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey, proper second by Commissioner Goddard. Any discussion?
Well, I think what we're
Original
going
document. I move the original document be sent back for signatures. There you go.
not for ratification,
There you
but
go.
for
There
signatures
you go.
having
I'm
already
sorry.
been ratified?
Yes, I'm sorry. I withdraw mine, and the original document that was sent be sent back for signatures. There.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay.
And that the board authorizes the chairman's signature on whatever comes, on the document that comes back,
Exactly. The one that was sent out would come back and the chairman would sign it.
without having to come back to the board.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, you got all that? Okay. All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll move down to item L, I believe, and Commissioner Turner.
I just had a quick question, mainly for Stacy Papel. Is this a budgeted item that we had for the year? I think this is that software we talked about in workshop the other day. And so, I know that we had talked about moving it forward, and we talked about what have you, but I didn't remember if it was, actually budgeted in the year to be done in this year. Yes, sir. So it was budgeted, and we're just moving forward with that budgeted item. Yes, sir. Okay, that's the only question I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval on item L.
Second.
Okay, we got a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey, proper second by Commissioner Turner. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, agenda item L passes also.
Chairman, we take a 2-minute break?
Okay.
3 minutes and 27 seconds.
Short recess. 2 minutes. And we'll open it up to Planning and Development Services, a public hearing, and I'll turn it over to Mike Brown.
Thank you, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman and Commission. Mike Brown, Putnam County Planning and Development Services, case number PUD 18-008. This is an amendment to the existing Renegades on the River Planned Unit Development. The applicants are Donnie and Lisa King. Agent for the applicant is Mr. Thomas DeLuca. And this amendment is to add 1.88 acres to the existing Renegades PUD, increasing the number of allowable RV sites to 20. Future land use of the property is rural center. And again, the zoning for the existing portion of Renegades project is a planned unit development. The added acreage is residential 3. Here's a aerial showing the existing Renegades property and that portion that's being added just to the south. As I indicated, the future land use is rural center. The existing zoning PUD and CR3 for the portion being added to the existing project, and that's the shot of the proposed zoning. Just quick background, this site was originally developed as a fish camp back in 1969 and subsequently rezoned in 1999 to a PUD. There's been numerous amendments over the years. The largest one was in 2013 when it was approved for 33 slip marina, 33 RV sites, rental cabins, restaurant and tiki bar. There was a minor amendment in 2016 which expanded some of the facilities and added other facilities. We look at comprehensive plan consistency for all rezonings, including changes to PUDs. The rural center land use category consists of areas in the county that are focal points for existing and future development. It allows residential uses up to 4 units per acre, allows neighborhood and commercial uses, and also allows activity and resource-based recreational uses and activities. Policy A193B5 of the comp plan allows PUD zoning in any of the future land use categories. Policy B142 requires the county to ensure that no proposed developments receive development approval where traffic from the proposed project will adversely impact or any of the roadways below the operating adopted level of service. This project fronts on County Road 309, and County Road 309 is designated a major collector in the comp plan with an adopted level of service D. The county does have a count station located just north of Georgetown Shortcut Road in the vicinity of the project. That count station from 2018 counts indicates that the road is operating at acceptable level of service both in the PM peak hour and on a daily basis. Doing an analysis of the additional 20 new RV sites that could be developed, that would not adversely impact the road, County Road 309 below the or drop it below the approved or adopted level of service. In looking at the subsection 40202A of the Land Development Code, which addresses planned unit developments and requires all planned unit development rezoning to present evidence that rezoning to BUD is justified by one or more of the following. You could look at the 3 there for brevity, and I will not deal with each one specifically. But in looking at those, the property encompassing the existing renegades on the river was rezoned to PUD in 1999. And again, there have been numerous subsequent amendments to the PUD over the years. Staff finds that the proposed amendment to add 1.88 acres and additional 20 RV sites does prove that the county, with the original PUD approval, has decided that the PUD is justified at this location. Section 40202B of the Land Development Code has 8 criteria that each PUD must meet. During the Planning Commission meeting held on February 13th, 2019, they reviewed each of those 8 criteria against the proposed change. The Planning Commission found that the proposed amendment meets all 8 of those criteria that are identified in the Land Development Code for planned unit developments. The Planning Commission did have one recommendation which has been incorporated into the plan, and that was to move the new internal road that was going to be tied with the new RV sites, to locate that between the new RV sites and the existing residential development to the south, providing a little more buffer area. The applicant has complied with that, and that new site plan is incorporated in the ordinance. There is a PUD agreement, as with all planned unit developments. Just to highlight the changes, it would add the 1.88 acres to the PUD, add approvals for up to an additional 20 RV sites, add a 6th phase of development, which would incorporate that new area, set a new build-out date for 2020, and then there were numerous updated references to the Land Development Code. Findings and recommendation. The applicant has presented evidence that the rezoning to PUD is justified. The proposed amendment and development is consistent with the future land use designation, is compatible with the existing land uses in the area, and is consistent with the requirements of the PUD zoning and consistent with comprehensive plan goals, objectives, and policies. The Planning Commission recommends approval of the request to rezone 1.88 acres of property from R3 to PUD and amend the existing renegades on the river PUD to add the acreage, along with an additional 20 RV sites and 13 parking sites. The basis for this recommendation is that the proposed development is consistent with the requirements of the PUD zoning, consistent with the future land use designation, and consistent with other comprehensive plan objectives, policies, and goals. There's a quick overview of the site plan, again, as revised with the new road moved to the southern boundary. Do you have any questions of staff at this point?
I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Turner.
Mike, if we approve this today, if the commission approves this today, do we approve it in its current form, or do we approve it after it goes through DRC? Didn't you state in the comments here that it was going to go through development review?
It has gone through DRC.
Has gone through.
Yes, I have.
Okay, yeah. And the development review committee felt that it was better to have an additional driveway or additional curb cut to 309?
Yeah, they did not, that issue was not raised by DRC committees, by anybody on DRC, so I would assume that since it wasn't raised, it was not an issue. They would still have to get the permit for it, but nobody raised it as a concern from the DRC.
Okay. So basically, the additional traffic would be in and out of the additional driveway for the 24 spots. It wouldn't be held internal? Yeah. I mean, the way it's situated, those 20 new sites, the maximum of 22, would utilize that the new driveway. The rest of the project would utilize the
existing access. Maybe some of those might use that internal road because it will be connected, but it'll primarily for those 20 new sites.
Okay, all right, so it has gone through DRC?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Brown, the road, the new road on the south side of the property, I know that's not the only buffer to the residential area.
No.
There seems to be a green space right there.
Yeah.
But I don't know the feet of that green space and what is the
In
vegetation?
the land development code, or in the PUD agreement, there's a minimum of 10 foot, and it actually says 10-foot opaque buffer. So it either could be vegetation, more likely will be a fence, and then an additional 10 feet with vegetation buffering that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? Mr. Rawls? Okay, is the representative for the applicant here? Would you like to make any comments? No. Okay, all right, so you know. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
This is quasi-judicial.
We need to open a public hearing.
Right, okay. Is this quasi-judicial?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Do we need to, okay, after that, we'll disclose any contact? Okay. At this point, I'd like to open up the public comment portion of this hearing. Any individual wishing to speak for or against this, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion of this meeting. And do we have to declare?
Yes, it's quasi-judicial proceeding. You need to declare any ex parte communications or site visits that you've had. Just make it part of the record. There's nothing wrong with doing that as long as it's disclosed and made part of the record.
Okay, we'll start with Commissioner Harvey.
I've had none, sir.
Commissioner Turner.
I've had none.
Commissioner Goddard.
I've had a site visit, but it won't make any bearing on my decision.
Okay, Commissioner Rawls.
I've had a site visit, and I needed to declare a conflict of interest. I work with the engineering group that's designed this. So I'll be abstaining from the vote.
Okay. All right, you got that on the record. And I have had contact with 2 of the planning commission members, and I also spoke with the applicant this morning, so it will not affect my decision. So, okay, any other questions of staff?
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, I think we're ready for a motion now.
Yep, ready for a motion.
I move that having found this consistent with a comprehensive plan and the land use, that we approve case number PUD 18-008.
I second.
Okay, we got a proper motion by Commissioner Turner. We got a proper second by Commissioner Harvey. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion passes. PUD 18-008. 4-4, and Commissioner Rawls dissenting because of a conflict.
Recusing.
Recusing. Okay. Recusing because of a conflict. Okay. Thank you very much. Good luck with the project, and thank you, Mike Brown. Okay, we'll move on. Mr. Tim Smith is in Tallahassee today, and Susan Franks has already left, so we'll move down to appointments. Any appointments by Commissioner Harvey?
No, sir.
Mr. Turner?
Mr. Chairman, I have a conversation that I need to have with everybody concerning appointments and see if I can, Tabitha may have to help me with this, but if I'm understanding this correctly, we have on the Parks and Recreation Committee, we have an appointment that Gay Esperson could fill, but we also have that's going to come up at the next meeting if it hasn't already happened. She also serves on the Waterways and Trails Committee, but she serves in the Waterway and Trails Committee as a District 5 representative, even though, because back in those days, you didn't have to live in the area, you just had to be appointed by that district commissioner, but you didn't have to live. And then on February the 14th of 2017, there was a motion made that the that the member appointed from each is appointed from each district, but we can't tell from what it says here by the actual. It says one member appointed from each district, one Blue Ways and Trails CSO representative and Parks Recreation Director. Total committee shall consist of 8 members, but it doesn't really say to me that that they have to live in that particular one, only that they have to be appointed by that commissioner. So if Commissioner Goddard being, and I couldn't talk to him except in this meeting, obviously, and so, but I think he was copied on an email from Tabitha that basically said, if this board agrees that you don't have to live in that district to serve on waterways and trails, then if Commissioner Goddard wishes to appoint her back to waterways and trails that she's fixing to term out on, that has also agreed to be the representative that has to be on Parks and Recreations from waterways and trails. That's on that committee, that's one of them. So basically she's agreed to do both, but the only place that we have that we can appoint her is back to the District 5. That's the one that's coming up for reappointment. So number one, if everybody agrees, as I do, that it only has to be appointed by the county commissioner for that area, but the person doesn't necessarily have to live in that area, then we're good. We can move forward with it if Commissioner Goddard would agree to appoint Gay Esperson, and then she has agreed to sit on the Parks and Recreation Committee as the Waterways and Trails representative. Is that okay? I'm looking over there at Tabby to see if she's doing this.
She's smiling. So.
Okay. Right. She's making the evil eye at you, so you're okay.
Okay, so
just a clarification: is this only for this committee?
Yes.
Okay. Are everybody in agreement of that?
So it'd be a countywide appointment only for the Blue Ways and Trails Committee, right? Waterways and Trails.
Well, it says here the actual motion that was made said that in February of 17 that one member appointed from each district, and so I think that I actually need to make a motion if we're going to change this to absolutely clear it up, and just say that Mr. Chairman, I move that on Waterways and Trails that the member appointed by the county commissioner does not have to live within that commissioner's district.
Second.
Okay, so we've got a proper motion on the floor by Commissioner Turner and a proper second by Commissioner Harvey. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Now, Mr. Chairman, I would like to request if Mr. Goddard feels like, or Commissioner Goddard feels like he could, that he would reappoint Gay Esperson to the Waterways and Trails Committee and also as the representative to Parks and Recreation from the Waterways and Trails Committee.
Absolutely, yes. I would like to. I would like to have Gay Epperson be on the Waterways and Trail Committees and be back on the Parks and Recs Advisory Committee. Now, does that need to go up for a motion, or is that just?
I don't think so.
I think that's all I had to do.
Because it's your appointment. If it was an at-large position, it would, but I don't think it has to as your appointment. And so, and I think that's all I have for today, Mr. Chairman. And then
what does that do for District 3?
I'm going to have to find somebody else
I have to make sure I'm following this.
Well, I've asked Angie to look around and see if she can find somebody that would complement her committee that she thinks would work hard and volunteer for it, and to recommend someone to me for Gay Esperson's seat. I think they've been having some trouble with that committee getting a quorum, and so we're trying to work on getting it shifted around to people that are interested enough to show up to the meetings.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Turner. Commissioner Goddard, you probably had your
I have none.
Appointments. Okay, Commissioner Rawls?
I've got none.
Okay, and I have none. So, okay, we'll move on to County Administrator, Terry Suggs.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. The only comment that I have today is just a reminder that your staff is still on a daily basis responding, gathering information, and submitting that information to your legislative audit folks that came down from Tallahassee. They were in our office for about a week, but it has not concluded yet. Just yesterday, I received an email for 26 more documents. So it's a continuing a review. But I would like to say, and I'm sorry staff's not here, they're doing a marvelous job representing the commission during this audit period, and the information is quickly gathered and being forwarded to those folks in Tallahassee. So I just wanted to say thank you to staff this morning for all that effort. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Administrator Suggs. Okay, closing comments by commissioners and requests. We'll start with Commissioner Rawls.
Still looking to get involved in the budget process, or we're looking into April right now, and I know we're going to be working with the folks in Tallahassee over the next month or so, but I'd like to see us get involved in the budget process sooner than later. Strategic planning, haven't heard anything else about that. I've been pushing for that since December. And our comp plan, I think we need to take a look at that and start moving that in a more updated version sooner than later. Otherwise, I really don't have anything.
Okay, Commissioner Goddard.
All I'm gonna have is farm share was incredible. I couldn't believe how much food was brought in here and how much was given away. At the final, when everything was said and done, we carried the last little bit of things in the back of my pickup truck over to, escapes me, Bread of Life. But it was just, barely enough stuff that fit in the back of my truck. It was great. And we got to get to the fair. It was incredible. Sunday was, they had all the different Christian bands there, and that place was packed. It was incredible. But other than that, as I always say, get out and see what's going on in Putnam County. It's great.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Goddard. Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do want to recognize the farm share was an outstanding success, and I do have a skill. I can drive a skid steer with pallets. I did, and I did really well at it. Thank you.
He didn't hit
Commissioner
anything
Goddard
either.
did not drop any milk either. I want to say that, so that was very impressive. Hope FM turns 23 years old this month, so happy birthday and anniversary to Hope FM, the Christian radio station here in Palatka and Putnam County. Do want to draw your attention to what was said today. FDOT meeting April 23rd at our community center in Interlaken about Highway 20. That is an $80 million project coming from Hawthorne to 315 in Interlaken. It's been Huey Hawkins, Kelly Smith, Bill Henderson, and myself and the Mayor Lyles in 1991 walked that property and discussed that with DOT about the changes that could be made. That's how long some of these projects take. And I remind you that Larry Pritchett, when he was in in college at University of Florida, said he would vote for Sid Martin if Sid would promise to pave 20 from Gainesville to Palatka. So we all know that, Mr. Pritchett had a wonderful career in Putnam County, retired, long since retired, and finally this is the last leg of that promise that was made many, many years ago. And we all get frustrated with government taking so long, but there is a huge cost, and this is going to benefit Putnam County very well. And on that note, I'll end with Federal Point this coming Saturday. See you there if you can be there, and we look forward to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. Commissioner Turner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also would like to start with Federal Point and St. Paul's Episcopal Church. We did the resolution today. The committees and the people that were involved in this have done a tremendous amount of work, and they've worked on this for a long time. So anybody that has time, come on by and see us. And I'm going to read the resolution again that morning and Commissioner Harvey's gonna make us some barbecue as usual, and and it ought to be a great time. I think at 8:30 that morning, I don't know if we've actually said it today or not, but maybe we did, but at 8:30 in the morning, they're gonna have a canoe, kayak paddle, and a bike ride, if you like that, from the trailhead there, and then they're gonna actually start the program, I think, at about 11, is that right? 11:30? Okay, so anybody that can make it, I think it'll be a great time. Also, the Putnam County Fair is going on this week. And the steer and swine sale is Friday night, so if anybody's interested in purchasing or having one of these for your freezer or helping out one of the children, come Friday night. We brought it up at workshop, I think the last workshop, or maybe it was the last board meeting, I think, that where we're going to start the comp plan and the revisions that we feel are necessary. And I agree with Commissioner Rawl on that. And I think I went to Mr. Suggs about it since then, and we have decided to try to bring the first one, was it to the workshop on the second Tuesday in the afternoon, or was it the third Tuesday workshop that we're going to start the process of just talking which elements we're going to try to do first?
It won't be the third one because we have to be in Tallahassee that afternoon. That's Rural Days.
Okay.
But I talked to Mr. Brown this week, and we're going to get a workshop scheduled. That's the second Tuesday of April is fine to have a general conversation discussion on the elements and what your expectations are and what our opportunities will be to get that completed for you folks.
Yeah, I think that I'd like to have a workshop that we actually get to pick what elements we think need to go first that are the most concerning. You know, I think it's probably land use and housing and conservation are probably the three most important ones that need to be moved, that we're finding things that are preventing us from doing certain developing or whatever that we want to in the county. So those are the ones that I think. Would you agree, Mr. Brown, with those three, or do you? Okay, well,
whatever the commission desires.
Maybe we could just bring it to the first Tuesday afternoon as a workshop item, and we could decide then which elements we want to start with. Hopefully, we can take a couple, three of them at one time and move it through, and then go to some of the others. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I cede the floor.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Turner. Administrator Suggs, you had another comment?
Yes, sir. I apologize. I didn't put my list together this morning. First of all, to Sarah, you know, when I talk about the audit and how much work is being done, Sarah, you're certainly including that because Sarah's done yeoman's work on providing documentation and minutes that's been requested. And Sarah, I do appreciate that extremely. It's been very, very helpful. Also, don't forget your April 16th. Not only is it Rural Days, but it's also our insurance committee meeting that morning at 9 a.m. where to go to Commissioner Rawls's comment. We're also going to have about a 15-minute budget kickoff that morning. That's going to give you your dates, your calendar for when you can expect the one-on-ones with the commissioners, department head budgets, and things of that nature. So we'll have about a 15-minute conversation that morning for your budget kickoff. And lastly, I'd be certainly remiss if I didn't reflect on the opportunity I just had to spend a few days. I won't use the word quarantine on a boat, but that was probably a good description with our
controlled environment.
Controlled environment with our former county attorney and our representatives from our sheriff's office, along with the sheriff himself. And a couple boat captains from the sheriff's office, Colonel Joe Wells and Dennis Jones. And what I found in that was how they work well together. When there was a problem or a concern or an issue came up, the way that they approached it and attacked it and came up with a solution. And so I got to witness that for 3 days. And I'm going to tell you that Putnam County is in great hands with Sheriff Gator Deloach and his staff. And I was very proud to be able to do that with them. But I'm more proud of the fact that I get to serve with them every day. And I'm sorry they're not here today, but it's their approach to how to handle a problem to find a solution is just amazing. I really appreciate them and wanted to share that this morning with my commissioners.
Okay. Thank you. Glad you made it back alive. So, and you may think that I looked over county attorney comments, but I wanted to save him for last. So just give welcome back, Russ Castleberry, and give you just a minute or so to.
Words of wisdom, never say never again. And for the record, the interim county attorney is the law firm of Holmes and Young. It's not Russell D. Castleberry. But the firm is happy to help during this interim period, and look forward to working with you guys again. And you'll see a lot of me and some of Don and probably a little bit of George. But we'll try to maintain some continuity. We're still talking about how to divide it up. I'm trying to talk about that. I'm not getting much response out of them about talking about it. Anyway, we're happy to be here and help you out.
Okay. Thank you very much. Just a couple of comments. I will add on the farm share. That was a neat event, and want to thank Representative Payne and Senator Perry and their staffs for arranging that, and then all the volunteers. A lot of all the commissioners were there, a lot of staff. Buddy, what did they hand out? Over 300 families, very needed families, and they were very appreciative of the food that they got. It was kind of cool. I did have a jacket on. Commissioner Turner came up to me after I'd been about 15 minutes, said if I'd work harder, I'd warm up and wouldn't have to wear my jacket. But anyway, and next week, the 41st annual Catfish Festival in Crescent City, sponsored by the Crescent City Rotary Club. Friday, April 5th, it starts at 5 p.m. with a gospel sing, and then a Hispanic group will come on at 8 o'clock, and there'll be food products offered there. And then from 9 to 4 o'clock Saturday, and you can come down and get the world-famous Uncle Buck's swamp cabbage. We'll be cutting swamp cabbage next Wednesday, and I believe Commissioner Goddard is going to come with me to help with that event. So we're looking forward to that event in Crescent City. The fair, try to get out to the fair and support the children. A lot of activities. I think tonight is the swine presentation, I think tonight at 6 o'clock. And so come out and join that. And on a sadder note, you probably saw in the paper, but the chief of the Pomona Park Volunteer Fire Department, Melvin Asher, died of a heart attack 2 Saturdays ago. And he'll be sorely missed. So he was always there. He was one of the guys that when there was a call, no matter how far away he was, he showed up. The middle of the night, it didn't matter. So keep he and his family in your prayers. So we do not have a transportation meeting after this. So any further business come before this board? We stand adjourned.